It's been exactly a year since Governor Cuomo put New York on pause, and today we're taking some big steps towards that recovery we've all been waiting for. One of the steps is expanding vaccine eligibility to anyone 50 and older. New Yorkers in that group can start making appointments tomorrow morning. And New York City high school students return to classrooms for the first time since November. That includes about 55,000 students, so it's just some of them in over 400 school buildings, not full time. Mayor de Blasio also announcing today the opt-in period, a new one for in-person learning, begins Wednesday. It goes 2 weeks, running through April 7. People also returned to indoor fitness classes today. Gyms have been open for months, but group classes weren't allowed until now. They're going to follow the same rules that are in place for gyms. That means face masks, capacity at 33%. And they'll have new check-in rules. Also today, yellow zone restrictions were lifted in the Bronx, Washington Heights, and parts of Queens and Orange County. Those zones once had higher COVID positivity rates, so they faced tighter restrictions. Now they're going to be able to follow the same rules as the rest of the city and state. News 4's Lynda Baquero is in Mount Vernon. That's where the governor made some big announcements, especially that 50 and up vaccine eligibility news. Lynda.
Adam, as you said, a lot of developments today. Nearly 2.7 million New Yorkers already vaccinated. And today, a couple of big announcements here at this church, part of another big push to get more shots in arms.
Did you get your vaccine yet?
Outside a church in Mount Vernon, Governor Cuomo encouraged more New Yorkers to get the vaccine, dropping the age limit to 50 and over starting tomorrow.
That's so fabulous. I'm so grateful about that, because if they get the vaccines, it means that by June, everybody will be okay.
I'm 52 and they've dropped it down to 50, so now I'm eligible.
Today's announcement opens the door for 2.8 million New Yorkers between the ages of 50 and 59 to get the vaccine, although some already qualified due to a pre-existing illness. And there'll be more vaccine sites to do that. Retail pharmacies will now be allowed to vaccinate those 50 and over and all other eligible groups. And today, the governor unveiled the Roll Up Your Sleeve campaign to use houses of worship like Grace Baptist Church in Mount Vernon to distribute the COVID vaccine to address a discrepancy in vaccination rates in the Hudson Valley.
14% of the population is black. Only 8% of those vaccinated.
Our problem is that African Americans and people of color have a historical reluctance, a history that takes away trust and builds fear. And so we have to go down deep to free people from misinformation and conspiracy theories.
It's critically important to have partners who are trusted partners. Many of our houses of faith are anchor institutions within our community.
This Mount Vernon resident told us she's grateful to the governor.
And I'm just hoping that all of this fanfare about that other stuff dies down, because he's done so much good work.
Well, they'll be aiming for about 350 shots a day here at Grace Church using the one-dose Johnson & Johnson vaccine. Of course, you do have to make an appointment. That continues to be a challenge in New York, especially now that we're opening up to so many more people. But the governor says you should continue to urge patience and keep trying on the different websites. And the mayor also says that using the one dose here will make it easier and faster to get this community protected against the virus as quickly as possible. Reporting live in Mount Vernon, I'm Lynda Baquero, News 4. New York. Back to you.
Good news there, Lynda. Thank you. Well, if you want to go to a game, Madison Square Garden is instituting a new admission policy. Their aim here is to protect players and fans from COVID-19. So what they're doing is starting April 1st, you'll have to provide proof of at least one of these three things: a negative rapid test, a negative PCR test, or proof of vaccination. Again, that new policy takes effect April 1. Now, don't expect COVID-related restrictions to be loosened in New Jersey anytime soon. While indoor capacity just got increased to 50% Friday, today, Governor Murphy hit the brakes as the number of infections there is actually rising. News 4's Checkey Beckford's in Hoboken now with the concerns in New Jersey. Checkey.
Well, Adam, the governor would not say exactly how long this pause will last, saying he doesn't expect to loosen restrictions anytime soon. The main concern, the spike in new cases and, of course, those variants, a surge in variants in the state. New Jersey leading the nation as the state with the most new cases of COVID-19. Today, Governor Murphy announcing he is pausing the loosening of restrictions.
I can't give you a specific time frame, but we're sort of in a very much of a balancing moment.
The news comes just days after the state increased capacity limits for businesses like restaurants and gyms from 25 to 50%. Neighboring Connecticut is allowing 100% capacity. And next door, New York, the domestic travel quarantine is set to be lifted April 1st. Why is the tri-state no longer in lockstep? No exact answer, but the governor says concern over COVID variants in the state has influenced his decision.
We know we have variants. We know, therefore, that there's more transmissible versions of this virus in the state.
The governor says the state is in the top 5 for vaccine distribution, but in a foot race with the rise in cases. Part of the problem, he says, too many reports of high school parties. Monmouth Regional High School now closed after multiple students became infected at a party. Superintendent Andrew Teeple sending out this letter critical of parents, he says, are unwilling to cooperate with contact tracing efforts.
When we would question, well, who was at the party? Where was the party? Just so we could do our contact tracing, because what we were finding was kids that were at the party that later tested positive were actually in school. So they weren't communicating that to us. So it became a difficult situation.
Now, that high school closed for in-person activities until April 19th. Homedale High School also closed because the superintendent there says, again, parties have led to about 100 people having to be quarantined. We're live in Hoboken tonight. Checkey, Beckford, News 4, New York.